Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We are from different locations around the world, and welcome to the Cafe Without Borders. And I'm so happy to have you joining us or able to join or watching later on because of the time difference. We do understand that. And it's like a part of here the cafe commitment to foster global dialogue and critical reflection on pressing issues in education and research. And today's webinar, we have AI in research, the good, the bad, and the in-between. And it's like an artificial intelligence, how it's these days becomes increasingly woven into the fabric of academic research. And we'll leave the room to Aisha Aslam. I hope that I'm saying the name correctly, as our presenter. So, like a short bio about Aisha, Aisha is a highly experienced in TESOL practitioner and a PhD candidate in applied linguistics at the University of Queensland, Australia. And with around of 2 decades of teaching experience across Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Australia, Aisha brings to us today a rich international perspective to her work, and her research focuses on the language of 3-minute thesis presentations from a corpus-based register perspective, and she is especially interested in how Gen AI tools intersect with corpus linguistics, data-driven learning, and academic speaking skills. Aisha also holds like a master in applied linguistics and several prestigious international certifications. And wow, people, if you wanted to follow or join, she is the founder of IELTS Nuggets, an online platform for English language training, and she is a reviewer for the Australian Review of Applied Linguistics. If you are interested to be a reviewer as well in such, it's a conference or a journal. It's a journal, I believe. Uh,
It's a journal. Yeah, it's a Q1 journal, actually.
It's secure. That's great. So today's session, we will be an interactive exploration of this topic, and we will discuss more in depth. I'm going to leave right now the room for Aisha and welcome her to take the lead right now. Thank you so much, Aisha, and please go on.
Thank you so much, Lamia. Thank you for the opportunity. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening to people around the world who will be watching later, maybe as well. And to all those who made it to the live session, I really appreciate that. And I hope that in the next um, few minutes that we spend together, I will be able to make us feel more human, I would say, as we live through this era of generative artificial intelligence. I think there is so much noise around this buzzword AI and generative AI. There's so much noise. And because this is I believe because this is cafe, it's a cafe setting. So instead of doing like a traditional tutorial or a presentation, I thought it was going to be a good idea if we just come along together. Because I don't present myself here as an expert in the field, to be honest. And I think we're all learning. It's a huge learning curve. We are at the cusp of something huge. And this whole disruption has been very unprecedented. So maybe by the end of today's session, we will all have possibly more questions than answers. So heads up already. But yeah, I will try that we, try to think more deeply and move beyond that surface level, noisy buzz that we hear around us. And there's, so much available online now in terms of what tools to use and what not to use and ethical considerations and this and that. So I thought that it's going to be a good idea if we just pause, step back a little bit, and then try to see what are we actually dealing with. So that's my goal today, to just, move beyond this whole shallow level of noise that we hear, right? So there's going to be a lot of questioning, and I would love to see interaction in the chat box. I see that there are 6 people, including myself, so maybe like 4, 5 participants. But it's going to be a good idea if you would be more interactive and try to, put in your input in the chat box. And I'm not sure because we aren't that many online, so maybe turn on the microphone if it doesn't get too noisy. We could do that as well. And then yeah, so we'll try to, learn together. How do we navigate this whole new world where AI has become an important and integral part? I will be using a lot of my, I would say, inspirations from LinkedIn, people that I follow in the space. Ethan Malik is one of them. I really, value what he shares, and you guys can also go ahead and follow him. This is something that he shared a week ago, as you can see. Actually, it's pretty new. I would let you read it all. Just take a moment and read all that.
Yeah, it shows that.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
yes, yeah. So I would love to hear your feedback on that. What do you think?
It shows that. It actually reminds me with the industrial revolution where machines popped out, and lots of employees were like going nuts and crazy, and it was like, oh, we're going to lose our jobs, and then but suddenly actually some of the jobs were um, you know, uh, got faded, and then others were then got born. Like the machinist, then the one that does the maintenance. That's a new job that has been born because of the industrial revolution, right? So what I'm trying to say is that at some point people will have any technology has its pros and cons, and it's according to how you use it. It's a double-edged
Yeah,
sword, I'd say. Same goes with the internet. Same goes, like I said, with the machine or the industrial revolution. Same goes with the AI. Same goes with the any type of technology. It always has its pros and cons, and I think it's related to the individual's practice. I would say
hmm
individuals, um, perspective, and how are we thinking, uh, how can we think to use this type of technology in order to be or to max out the benefit out of it. That's my
yeah,
two.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, perspective matters, right? So, but we do have, I think, this. Um, we do see this dichotomous sort of thinking evolving with time. So it's either A or B, right? It's like, there's this school of thought that, oh, AI is going to destroy everything. And then the other school of thought that AI is the savior, right? In fact, there is a paper that came out just before this viral paper came out by MIT. There was another one last year that talked about all of these different schools of thoughts in this space when it comes to generative AI. And they're, the two extreme ones are kind of portrayed here. And when we take it, from there, like we said, there's going to be good, there's going to be bad, right? But let's say if we even dissect what we think as good, right? So for example, we know that AI could process so much data that humanly won't be possible, right? This was in fact the thing when corpus linguistics was born, right? So I'm a corpus linguist. We deal with a lot of huge data. That's what we do, right? And this is when you have the capacity to look into the language, which you won't be able to do without electronic tools, right? So this is corpus linguistics. Now that we have AI, we know that it can process thousands of books and data and papers, for example. Um, the question remains: what really it means to be an expert in any field anymore. What does it really mean to be an expert, right? So I see that this whole definition of expertise and expert is kind of evolving now. There's a shift, right? So from information to information synthesis. Because now, just like Google, we could actually Google for anything, any information, right? And we would have it in split seconds. But now that we have, you know, way faster large language models that would be able to process information, even at a, very, very fast speed. So now possibly expertise could mean that you'll be able to synthesize that information as a human being, right? So possibly it is that the expertise shifts from retention or even for example, just memorizing things and being able to recall knowledge. Maybe it's more important to be able to critically synthesize the information that is there already, right? Like you can see on the screen, like when it comes to pattern recognition across different disciplines, right? And what I believe is more important is the ability to ask better questions. And the more you gain that skill and that expertise in a certain discipline, the more refined your questions would be. I don't know if you agree with that, right? If anyone has
Um,
any input on that, right?
yeah, I can actually say something
Mm-hmm.
if you don't mind.
Sure,
So
sure.
yeah, I'd probably say it differs from field to another. So in
Uh-huh.
my case, for example, if I uh, depend on AI tools, especially text AI tools, text to text, I'd say it wouldn't really work, especially in the medical field slash therapeutics fields, because AI also has its own flaws, right? It hallucinates. It also produces wrong, very critical pieces of information, especially in the medical field. So you probably need a medical expert actually to revise all the information and the citations and the references, even if AI has the capability to write the whole text in a few seconds. In addition to that, I've also noticed that AI doesn't have the capability to create, like innovative ideas. It actually recycles the different ideas that has been fed to it previously. So, for example, if I have
Mm-hmm.
an idea now, and I gave this idea or fed this idea, and then someone from China, then asked the AI itself will just recycle my idea that I've fed, which is, let's say, for example, that has been fed from USA or any Egypt, for example, and then it would be given to the Chinese person. I'm proud of me for saying the Chinese. I mean, I meant the nationality though. And then he
Yeah.
probably he'd probably perceive it. I'm not being racist now, okay? He'd probably
We
perceive.
got you.
Yeah, exactly. He probably perceive it as AI is actually being creative, but actually it's not the real case. It is just recycling the idea. But if I did not
Mm-hmm.
feed the AI with the idea for at the first place, then the AI wouldn't even have the capability to innovate. As long as the idea is with me and it hasn't been fed directly to the AI doesn't have the capability to actually come up with new ideas, and find.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that I've actually noticed. So there are definitely lots of flaws regarding AI,
Yeah.
and it's according to again to the the field, and pardon me for the the background noise, but yeah. Anyways, that's
Yeah, I get
my
yeah.
yeah,
Ahmed,
exactly.
that's valuable. That's a valuable add-on. Um, Obviously, I think we wouldn't disagree with you. Um, the issue is, and I'm going to touch on that as we proceed in today's discussion. We'll touch on um, the idea on what is fed, into the AI, into that certain language model, for example. As there is this saying, it's called garbage in, garbage out, you know, and it's more like, yes, there is this strong school of thought that believes that AI, there's a reason it's artificial, you know, it just regurgitates. It cannot really create. But again, there is no definitive answer to that because um, I was reading the other day, there's this, I think there was a news article on how artificial intelligence can now scan um, some, for example, medical scans, right? So it could even help radiologists scan through different, for example, X-rays or other scans, right? And in
Yes.
some cases, AI did a better job at scanning and really getting into the root of that, certain issue, for example, right? So we really, I think we really don't know the answers yet, you know. But
I'd,
yes, yeah.
yeah, I'd probably say AI is just going to be like machines, like internet is going to be used as an assistant, but it wouldn't be,
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
my, like you can't really replace human beings, in my
mm-mm.
opinion. I'd say it's going to be eventually a tool for assistance. Whether we're talking about machines, internet, AI, I guess they're all in the boiling at the same point.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. However, when we look at the current situation and the current development so far in the artificial intelligence space, we see that it does somehow has that contextual, if you want to call it wisdom, right? And the reason for that is, although it's artificial, it is the human experts who have provided that lived experience into that language model, right? So if the cultural nuances have been fed into the language model and it's even, given that ethical judgment as well, right? But if the model has been built as such, then possibly it can sort of replicate, maybe not create, like you said, but maybe replicate human thinking, right? And possibly this is one of the goals that all these, artificial intelligence scientists are trying to achieve. Maybe can eventually replicate human thinking, if not create. But let's see more, right? Let's get into it more. So there's this core skills, report, which came out in 2025, a Future of Jobs report by the World Economic Forum. And it does, talk about all these skills that are going to be really, really considered core skills in 2030. If we just zoom into the core skills by 2030, if we kind of quickly scan through these skills, how many are purely human?
How many are what?
Purely human. Only human would be able to have those skills.
Maybe leadership and social influence can be
Mm-hmm.
human bound. Only human can do talent management.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my
empathy and active listening could be human bound.
Could
Resilience.
be. You said could be. Could
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
Why
could
did
be.
you
Yeah,
say could be? Why
yeah.
did you say could be? You think
Uh,
machines could have empathy?
uh, yeah,
Machines could
it
have
is
empathy?
responding. Even what I see now. Okay, it's not entirely, but even when you see the response, when you prompt something, it's giving you response with a empathetical manner, right? Sometimes
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
having a part of
Mm-hmm.
not the entirety,
Right.
but still there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say
Well,
probably.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the anything that is related to emotions are more of a human being rather than AI. Like
But
motivation and
yeah.
self-awareness. But I mean, I understand that
Mm.
it can also mimic but it doesn't really
Yeah.
give you the vibes of the or the life of
Yes,
body language.
fairness, definitely. Yes, self-awareness,
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
motivation can be
Yes. Yeah.
also.
But you see, now, are you trying to read between the lines here? We have only two people speaking, right? But um, what I see is we, as human beings, we aren't fully definitively sure that this is the case. Like even when it came to empathy, Muhammad said that maybe because of the responses that AI would now give, you would it would feel like as if the machine is trying to be empathetic towards me, right? And if I don't know if any of you have read those news articles, like real news or from around the world, where teenagers now um, have even, trigger warning, even committed suicides because they were so deeply into this emotionally connected um, space with an AI agent as a as a girlfriend or a boyfriend, for example, right?
Yes,
And it I don't know if you have read that, but it just goes on to showing us where are we heading in terms of human emotions as well, right?
I know actually
So
that we're talking right now about
yes,
emotions, but if I'll step back, take like a step like that and look at these all of his skills, I would think
yeah,
about it in a different way. Like I'm going to make like a different or a comparison between if I'm still in the growing process or I'm an adult right now, and how I was raised up. Like if we're talking about like those who are like at the age that used to be used in the past to just rely on their mindsets, their brain skills, to grow everything like their creative thinking, their analytical thinking, their resilience, their all of that. It took a lot to be able to master these kind of skills. So they already trained their brain to acquire those skills. And right now, when turning to use AI will turn to be like a tool to help them reduce the amount of work. But they have the skill. So they can, I think that they can critically evaluate the material that they will have at their hand, whether that will help them or what, or just like the machine right now doing this just kind of hallucination because it
mm,
happens. But if
yeah,
we are talking about teenagers, they are still in the process of developing their brain skills, and they started at this early age to rely on machines. So they will never acquire this kind of skills that is so important to grow their or like to master a lot of stuff forward in their life or to like when they go onward like to be able to write to be the writing skills even to be able to write to be able to analyze to create to innovate whatever the kind of words they will not be able because
yeah,
they were not trained from the early beginning to develop their like their brains because when talking about neuroscience brain has no limits.
hmm,
Okay,
I
whatever
agree.
I
Yep.
will train my brain on, I will acquire new skills. So in that sense, they will lose this kind of like to look to evaluate what kind of production this machine produced. They will take it for granted and use it. And this is why I believe that because teenagers started just to copy and paste from any machine, they started to create a new tool for humanizing the writing or the ideas.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
why it's somehow it's like growing heavily to that extent to solve the problems of
yeah,
teenagers. But for me,
yeah,
as a one grown, used to be raised up in an environment where I have to rely on my mindset skills, my set of skills. So I do have them right now. So if I will use it, I can evaluate the kind of production.
absolutely, absolutely.
So that's
You're spot on,
why,
Lamia. Yeah, you're
that's
spot
why when
on
I
that.
sorry,
Yeah.
so that's why when I look at these core skills, this merely they are trying with the young ages because to solve the problems here, because all of that they cannot master. They might master this kind of leadership skills because of the let's just say the causes that they share in person. But what about writing skills, analytical skills,
Yeah.
critical thinking
Yep.
skills? It's a problem
Yep.
here.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Spot on. Spot on. That's exactly the dilemma is right now. Like, although these skills are expected to increase in importance by 2030, we do see a decline already. And especially when we look at the reports such as the recent MIT's report that's going viral, right? Where they have shown you that it could actually, over reliance on AI would actually reduce your brain physically, right? So yeah, so when thinking about all the good, we're not even sure if that is good anymore, right? Well, I do have more questions, right? So we talked about teenagers, we talked about the growing brains, but let's talk about our space as PhD students or people who have already graduated with a PhD, and are training the PhD students now. Um, what does it look like to train them, right? So should we like prepare them to compete with an AI, or they need to be trained to be able to, as they would say, harness that, strength of AI and then make it a partner maybe, right? So that's a question that we need to ask ourselves, right? But if we are AI native researchers, we do have an edge, right? And like you said, like Lamia said, if you already have been trained to critically think and evaluate and analyze, you will most probably end up using AI as your critical thinking partner because you do not outsource your thinking to AI. So in that case, AI becomes actually good, right? And because that PhD student also has, learned how to be uniquely human, so that PhD student would also have creativity, empathy, all those aspects that we have already touched upon, right? Cultural sensitivity. They will be ethically aware, right? They would challenge assumptions that sometimes even AI would have, right? Most importantly, I believe what makes you uniquely human is that ability to do reflective thinking, meta thinking as well, right? So meta thinking, reflective thinking, both. I believe there's something that we as PhD students have to have more of, um, especially because AI is there, right? We can't just outsource all of that to AI. But now here's another question. So talking about the power shift, is it good or is it bad? That's another question, right? Apparently, it looks like it's something good. Now, the global north and the global south could possibly have the same opportunities because of AI, because a student sitting, let's say in Bangladesh or in Pakistan or, any of those countries, that student also has the access to ChatGPT, for example, right? Just as a student in the US or in Australia has. So maybe are we bridging these, these divides, or is it the other way around? Here is another person that I follow in that space. She's brilliant. Look at what she said. I'm not sure if you agree with that, but here is a perspective. And she's one of the top influencers in this space.
Yeah, actually, I
Yes,
agree.
yes,
Yeah, I agree because I don't know whether
yeah.
I did that before or not. So I remember that a few weeks ago, ChatGPT was down. Okay, you need to check online the reactions, how everyone went like stuck. Oh, it's down. We cannot do our work. So, so when you look at this kind of like thousands of people across the world reflecting,
Yeah.
it's so frustrating right now that
Mm-mm.
ChatGPT is not working. There is like a
Yeah.
technical problem across the world. And then I thought
Yeah.
the same, by the way.
Yeah.
Those
I
people, they're
know,
supposed to be
right?
researchers and scientists
I
one
know,
day.
right?
Yes.
So yeah, so we can't really tell if it's even when it comes to doing amazing things that apparently we think that now we're closer to bridging that divide between the global north and global south, maybe not so, right?
I don't think
And
because
maybe, yeah,
now,
yes.
for example, now whatever it is, even though there is a artificial intelligence tool, but the access to research articles is still behind paywall. There now
Mm-hmm.
it's we can see a change. There is open access, more and more open access, but still
Mm-hmm.
access to the prominent articles is still I see that behind paywall. But what we can
Mm-hmm.
do through prompt, but they can get knowledge, but without any reference, and I don't think that's organized way of you can learn something knowledge, but there is a deal of plagiarism issue kind of
Mm-hmm.
issue, like that tweet you that LinkedIn post you saw, that yeah, it can create this researchers, but without critical thinking, without any reasoning mind, and
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
dangerous. So
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But we do see that as you can see now on the screen, the scientists are now using ChatGPT. Like we're scientists, right? We're using ChatGPT, whether we're pure scientists or we're applied scientists, we're from humanities, people are actually using ChatGPT, Um, and when we see that ChatGPT itself is capable of doing so much of the work. For example, all the lists that you see in front of you, extraction of key findings and designing entire experiments to turning complex studies and all of that. If ChatGPT or any other LLM like Claude could do that, what are we doing? What is our part, right?
I
And
think
where's the elephant in the room, right?
yes.
Who's going
Okay.
to discuss? Yeah, who's going to talk about the elephant in the room? What do you think is the elephant in the room right now that we're trying
Uh,
to tackle here?
okay. I think I can answer that, and from like like a scientist perspective, or again, if we're talking about sciences, um, sciences is not really narrowed around what Chat GPT does, but it's also around hands-on experience. There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things that, for example, if we're talking from the medical aspect, you have clinical practice. If we're talking about applied sciences, you have lab experiments that you do in the lab. That there are results that you get out of the lab that can't that ChatGPT doesn't have access to, and these are like new results that you are actually extracting, live in the lab. So these things are also parts from where scientists are required, uh, to be involved, right? And I don't think that ChatGPT would be able to, fill these gaps, or any other AI tool. Like I said, again, I think it's more or less it's going to be an assistant rather than an everything in one, or an all-in-one
Yeah,
tool.
yeah, I agree. I agree. But there's this subtle point there. Even if we say that any of these models, they are an assistant to us scientists. Imagine a scientist that has that assistant working for them and another one that does not,
Yeah, it's
right?
unfair. It's
Yeah,
like it's
so
exactly like machines
that's the
again.
elephant.
Yeah.
That is the elephant in the room then, right? So we're talking about
Yes. Yes.
inequality, although maybe we created this whole AI possibly, well, because we wanted to bridge that gap or whatever, but it's not happening, right? It's actually possibly creating more divide, right? Because the universities around the world, all these higher institutions, they have different policies now, right? So maybe we're creating new divides in an already unequal system, possibly, you know. So even if there are goods, yeah, and like Mohammed just said, there is this epistemic authority, yeah, right. So these are, I think, critical questions and concept that we need to do to constantly think about, right? And also I think we discussed already. I think Ahmed mentioned that we're training AI on biased research, and now this AI is teaching us, right? So obviously that's a problem, right? And also, if we're thinking about, well, if AI could actually identify different patterns across different, huge data sets, for example, right? Um, does that lead us to discover research questions that we as humans are not too cognitively capable of asking ourselves? Do you think it's possible? AI could do that?
Mhm.
I think it's a tough one. I think it's a tough one. So let's jump into this, right? Now there's this idea that if we use AI as, let's say, we outsource our thinking to it, like you see in this visual, right? Then obviously it's reducing your own brain capacity, right? So there is this school of thought who would say that don't trade your potential for dependency, right? So you want to build your own critical thinking, you first would have to see what critical thinking really is. And there is this school of thought that actually says that AI is killing critical thinking. I'm not sure how many of you would agree with that, but you cannot read this, but this is a framework. I'm going to show you the most important bit from it in a bit. But this is the critical thinking matrix designed by a group of scientists at the University of Queensland. And it suggests there are 6 clusters to critical thinking. And I've kind of concealed them here, but the initial letters are still there. Maybe if you want to have a quick guess what these skills really are. The first one starts with an I, the second with an A, the third one with an E,
I'd
I, E,
say
and S.
A would be active listening.
Mm-hmm. Remember, we're thinking critical thinking. Okay, so we're talking about what truly is critical thinking. So these are the skills or the clusters of these skills. If you have those, then you have critical thinking. So if you can interpret, so interpretation, right, of any data, for example, analysis,
Okay.
right?
Evaluation, right.
Look at number 6. Do you think AI could have self-regulation?
Self-regulation, no, I don't think.
So if you really look at these, by the way, if you guys want this matrix, just reach out to me. I can send it to you. But if you look at all of these skills, these are some core skills, right? Interpretation. AI could possibly do that, right? AI could even analyze data now, evaluate it too, right? Infer results for you, maybe explain them as well. But I think AI could never self-regulate because there's no such thing as regulation when it comes to artificial thinking, right? But even for the rest of the skills, we're not sure because they're not real.
All
They're
5
artificial for
possible, I think, right? Except
yeah,
last one.
except
All
for
5
6.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do.
Yeah, there's still a possibility. So now we've been thrown into this gray area where even when it comes to critical thinking, imagine that we're not sure that if AI would have that capability or not. I mean, AI could have critical thinking. I mean, if you take away number 6, then maybe yes, AI has critical thinking then, right? So this is something that is something we can think about, right? Now, this was something good that we talked about that looked like it was bad as well. But let's look at the bad, right? So we already talked about it, that possibly we're creating this generation who can critique AI generated work, right? But they cannot really produce original knowledge, right? And if we're thinking about peer reviewing, right? If reviewers cannot distinguish and differentiate between human written and AI written sections in the same article, what does this really tell us about the intellectual rigor? And by the way, when it comes to the detection tools, they are also, there's a huge question mark on the reliability of the detection tools as well, because there are so many false positives, right? So all of these actually are shoving us more into the gray than into black and white, even when it comes to the AI space, right? And how do you maintain that research authenticity? When we just talked about this whole mimicking, right? So AI can mimic any writing style, right? It can even mimic a certain theoretical approach. And are we unconsciously training AI systems on our biases, right? So that is actually, again, like we said, it's widening that divide. So are we creating this partial atrophy? Why? Now that we may say that because of GPS, maybe our own human navigational skills are not that strong anymore, right? But because of AI, do we have enhanced capacity to do things? But at the same time, is that at the expense of diminished capability? We're not as capable anymore, but we can do more, right? So again, it's very blurry. We know that calculators, they couldn't, eliminate mathematicians. We still have people doing PhDs in mathematics, despite calculators being here, you know? So that's again, there's a huge question mark on that. Talking about peer review, the whole crisis that we're going through, right? Are we going through this system evolution or devolution? We don't know, right? So possibly in the near future, the shift would, there would be this shift towards more rigorous methodology, right? And originality of thought. And that is going to dictate what a significant contribution is, possibly. And maybe we need some new quality markers, right? So reproducibility and intellectual honesty over writing quality. So we know now that AI can write any sort of writing, under the sun. But when it comes to the reproducibility of certain experiment, for example, when it comes to scientific study, right? And intellectual honesty, if you have used AI in your process, right? Then being honest with that. Maybe that can help, right? So, although we've been talking about the good and bad, but they're all in between. But now let's get more into the muddy waters. So if, for example, your co-author used AI, so you're working with somebody, right? So the co-author used it, but did not disclose it, right? The question is, would you still want your name on that paper? And especially, what if it was some sort of a brilliant work? Scientists, would you put your name on it? Or would you question the credibility of your co-author and just break away from them and like, no, I'm not gonna go ahead with you? What are you guys gonna do?
Hmm.
I
I
think
think
that, I think that
it is plagiarism, right? It's not his work anyhow. Because AI
What?
should get
What?
credit.
Mm.
I mean, it's not clear. It only says that
You,
this person used AI extensively. We're not sure if it's truly plagiarism. Maybe that person used it to
yeah.
understand clarify some ideas, brainstorm ideas, but then used his own ideas afterwards. We don't
you,
know.
you can't you can't you can't really say it's plagiarism. Okay, there are actually two answers for this question. I'd say there are some journals that do accept, papers that have
Hmm.
has been using AI normally, and I
Yep.
actually
Yep.
myself I don't mind putting my name on it, since it can be normally published in a paper that accepts AI, because you can't say really it's plagiarism. You didn't really or he didn't really copy it from someone, someone like a human being, right? Or he didn't even copy it from himself. I understand that he copied it from an AI that has been assisting him, but at the end of the day, like I said, there are certain parts of the work that can't be done by AI, right? The results that has been extracted from the lab experiments, or the clinical practice of the medical patients. Um, so I definitely put my name on it, because I, uh, AI would be just contributing to a part of it, not the entire paper. And again, at the end of the day, still it has been accepted and published in the journal, right? And that's my view.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the fine line here is how that AI was extensively used. How was it used, right? If we're talking copy pasting, then of course that's the silliest thing that anyone could do as a human being, right? But if you have really not outsourced your critical thinking and your analytical, thinking process to AI, then I don't think there's a harm to that, I guess, right? Moving on, in the interest of time, I'm just gonna kind of rush through it a bit now. So yeah, talking about PhD dissertations, I'm writing one myself. I don't know, like this is like every day we hear, some new policies coming up. So should PhD dissertations written with significant AI assistance be considered equivalent to those without? How do we fairly evaluate intellectual contribution? That's a question, right? And 10 years from now, will AI free research, I really love this one. Will AI research become a premium category like organic food? Think about it. And
Yeah, I can answer that also somehow. But I mean, if someone else would love to answer that, that's totally fine by me. But I'd say it's the same question again, related to uh, the availability or the access to certain instruments, expensive instruments, right? Now, for a researcher living in the United States in a certain university, has access and funding or different
mm-hmm.
types of fundings into lab experiments, materials, everything that has been definitely this is incomparable or uncomparable to someone that is living in a very, like, third country, developing country in Africa, for example. So you
Yeah,
can't, it's kind of unfair. It's definitely unfair, and it's definitely
yeah,
dividing even more. I understand, it's totally understandable.
yeah,
But what I'm saying is that
yeah,
if we couldn't solve, so on and so forth, we wouldn't be able to solve the gap of AI. That's me honestly
yeah,
speaking.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. And also, thinking about maybe some niche markets, you know. So some journals may create human-only categories in the future, maybe. We don't know, right? And AI transparency standards would be more refined in the future, I guess. So maybe, we will have a better insight into whether to use AI or how much of it to use, or not, right? Before I kind of conclude quickly, some more big questions, and you can ask those yourself. So, what aspects of the research process should remain fundamentally human and why? And how might AI change what we value in doctoral education and academic career? Are we asking the right questions about AI in research? And are we still thinking too much like pre-AI researchers? And if AI can generate hypotheses and, do all of that stuff, then we as researchers, what are we bringing as original knowledge contribution, right? But I believe that there's still, no matter what the future holds, possibly these are a few things that would remain human, right? Problem identification, right? I think that starts with human beings. You could maybe if you could outsource it later to AI for solutions, but problem identification is something that we are capable of doing only. It's exclusively human. Also, ethical oversight. Currently, it's very human exclusive. Lived experience. I mean, come on. We're human beings, right? We have that. Creative leaps. I don't know if AI would surpass us, but those unexpected connections and challenging paradigms beyond data extrapolation. I think that's very human activity, right? Wisdom. AI could be intelligent, but I think human beings are they have wisdom. They're wiser, right? And we don't have the answers, and current practices are inconsistent. We know that, right? And possibly they will remain so for years to come. And I know that there's a lot of noise. We're all anxious. We're all excited at the same time. And possibly on a day-to-day basis, there are more individual decisions to make, and they should be made, right? While we have all these institutional, consensus development going on. Before we leave, I'm gonna let you all watch this little cute video. Let me make sure the audio is good and video is good. Okay. Right. Oops. All right, I'm gonna try to play this. But before I play this, I hope you guys can see on your screen, there's the school teacher, and she holds this worksheet, and it says, think outside the box Thursday. This is this activity she does, and she posts on Facebook. And she has written here, this is not a cookie. This is and then you see there's a half-drawn cookie. If you were a first grader, what would you draw? This is not a cookie. This is a blank. What do you think it is? How wild your imagination could go as a first grader.
I'd say a bowl that has been full of pores. Just a
Okay.
bowl, like
Mhm.
yeah, a bowl with full of pores. That's a mindset of a grader, but as a mindset of a scientist, I'd say it's an agar plate. The
Let's see.
plate
Yeah.
with yeah.
Let's see. I mean, this is very human, right? But do you think that even this kind of creativity will be mimicked by AI anytime soon?
I think you can actually, if you ask AI with the correct prompt, like if you've had like half the ball, like half of it, and then you've asked AI to come up with ideas and different types of drawings to continue with the rest of the ball. I'm sorry for the background noise. Pardon me. Then
That's all right.
probably
That's all right. Very
yeah,
human.
yeah, very exactly. Then probably AI would be able to find uh different continue the different drawings. I guess so.
Yeah, just feed it.
Yeah.
Feed the AI
Yeah.
tool
Yeah.
and it will
Yeah.
create.
I mean, but honestly, how do you like as a human being right now, as adults, as people who have lived the pre-AI era? I think we are from a generation who have even we didn't grow up with all these phones, right? At least I didn't, right? So this is like something I remember when I was doing my bachelor's. This is when Google came out to my country. I'm sure I was working in the West, but I remember when for my bachelor's assignments and stuff, when we used to Google, we would barely get like 2 or 3 suggested pages. That's how we would get. And I remember our teachers, some of them who were trying to be very cool, right? They would try to give us assignments to send via email. And it was very technologically advanced. Like you send your assignment via email. And this is the time when I was learning to, we had a course called micro teaching. And believe me, we used to use those overhead projectors with transparency. I don't know if you guys know that, but I've been there, done that. Like overhead projectors with transparencies. We didn't have like these PowerPoint slides. And from there, all the way to us talking about AI possibly mimicking human experience. So I think we've come a long way and crazy times ahead. Brace
Uh,
yourself.
I, Yeah, I believe in general it's more about guidelines because it's just left to the world to manage and use this kind of tools differently based on their needs. So there should be like real or strict guidelines telling people how they might benefit from that and what is ethical and what is unethical. So, and
Yeah,
this guideline is not allowed, it's not there, not created for people. This is one thing.
yeah,
Another thing, like if you look at Finland, for example, I like their model a lot. They are not banning AI, but they are saying that AI will not be in school. Okay, so they are still growing their children and growing their brain skills and developing their skills, having them to
yeah,
touch, experience, to work with their senses, to be out in nature, to go, to sense, to touch, to do whatever, but there is no
yeah,
laptops. It is not technology-based education. It is not while being at school. When you grow up, you can move and start using that. But we are trying, what we are trying to do here, we are trying to grow your brains. Another thing about, I can't remember what is it. It's like synapses, I believe, in our brain according to neuroscience. So they said that
yeah.
we are born with millions of synapses at
Millions.
early age
Yep.
before the age of 5. Okay, so if they are left with no application or usage, they just like will
Fade away.
eat, yeah,
Yeah,
they will be terminated, and then this millions
yeah,
are going to be hundreds, for example. In that sense,
yeah,
you will be less smart, you will be less knowledgeable, you'll be like that. So Japan, for example, what Japan is doing, they are making children to be out in nature till the age of 5. No schools, no preschools, no nurseries like that at all. And even it's no see just running out and experiencing the nature. Use your 5 senses and experience the world a lot. We wanted to keep these millions of synapses to grow a prior knowledge to
yeah.
have. So
Absolutely.
so it's more about the usage
Absolutely.
itself. When we should start using this kind of tools, and what are our guidelines? These are the two questions that are left unanswered.
Yes, you're right. And as we progress, there are so many frameworks now available. There are so many matrices. UNESCO has their own. IEEE has their own now. Institutional level frameworks are, slowly coming out, and there are more and more institutions now that are embracing AI than to, resisting it. This is a framework that I actually sort of proposed last year, as you can see on my LinkedIn.
Mhm.
You're more than welcome to go and check it out in that article. This was last year before even the UNESCO framework came out. But I proposed this one particularly for the classroom usage. But I believe that this is more, it could be applied to any general sort of AI use. When it's called the 6 AI framework, right? So if you could sort of integrate that into your own, daily AI usage routine, you identify why you're using AI, you integrate it wisely, you investigate the output, then you include, that, sort of AI human collaboration, right? And you then incorporate human assistance as well, right? If you would want to do some peer work, for example, in the classroom, right? You want to involve other students with the students. And eventually, finally, it's the improve bit in the framework where you reflect on the entire process and you see how could you improve as a human being, right? How could you optimize your learning? So as a teacher, you could use that. As a student, I think as researchers as well, I think the six AI framework is one of those frameworks that you want to possibly look at. Like I said, it's not really tested. It was just proposed. Unfortunately, I couldn't really test it in real world, real time. But I think this is something you can all have a look. And I can share that in the chat maybe so that. And by the way, in today's session, there was some help that I took from Claude AI. Um, so I did ask some of the very critical questions from Claude instead of ChatGPT, because sometimes I think Claude has more of a robust thinking process. And yeah, it did give me some of the weird answers, which were very human, to be honest, which I have already shared with you guys. But what I also figured is that at the end of the day, as a human being, you are the one who would synthesize even after Claude or Chat GPT or Gemini or whatever, you have used to create something. You are the one who would be using your own critical thinking and judgment, whether to use that output, like, it says in this framework, to investigate it thoroughly. So I think I would just end with that. I did take 9 more minutes. But yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think it was more of a cafe kind of a vibe than a presentation, which I really wanted to do. So I'm glad it happened. And thank you so much for the active participation from the people. It made it more useful, I believe. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you so much for being here. And first of all, thank you for all of these resources that have been shared in the chat. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for the lot of resources and the thoughts that you have wrote here. And thank you for sharing your article. So we have
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Yeah,
this
you
is
can
the
follow me on
nice.
LinkedIn as well. Yeah, I do see there's a question by Rana. I don't know.
Easy
To what
question.
extent can I use AI and it is still ethical? I don't know what is ethical and what's not. I think it really depends on a lot of things. There are layers of uh, guardrails now in place. Slowly they're improving, but we do have the institutional guardrails where you can see, this is the limit that you can use. Journals do have their percentages now. This is the percentage of AI, usage that you could have, but you would have to declare it. So I think it's very, I would say, case by case, unique kind of a situation that we all have to face. So Rana, unfortunately, you would have to check out with your own institution to see what it really truly means to you to be able to use AI ethically. But yeah, you could use, one of these frameworks by UNESCO, or you could look at my framework and sort of see, what it would really mean to be ethically using AI. As long as you do not outsource your critical thinking, I think that's ethical. Muhammad has shared his article too. Thank you, Muhammad. I'm going to look at your article too. And thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so
And
It's
much.
quite late
Thank
at
you.
night.
much. And
Uh,
out of today's meeting, we can have an opportunity for co-authoring. Whoever wanted to co-author, this is part of the outing of the cafe, having people co-authoring. And this is what I did myself. I co-authored with one of my colleagues. We had a paper out. So this is part of what we're
Cool.
this cafe, that making researchers coming together from different spaces around the world and try to come together, think together, and co-author from different locations.
That's
that's
wonderful.
entirely perfect.
Yeah.
Isa, you mentioned you're in charge for systematic literature review journal, right? Something.
No,
Sys-
no, it's Australian. No, it's Australian Journal of Applied Linguistics. So it's in the
Okay.
field of linguistics. Yeah.
Linguistic, yeah.
It's
My
called
first paper
Australian
I
Review of,
published.
yeah, yeah.
My first paper I published in Castletown. Yeah, this is about
Yeah,
AI.
Castle, we are actually, yeah, Castledown. So we're going to host um an international conference, and the proceedings are going to be published by Castledown. So we do have
Okay.
that link, but I'm not really
Currently,
reviewing for Castledown currently.
my research completely AI ethics and language education.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So
While
yeah,
we
let's
are
connect on. Yeah.
Yeah, while we are at it, I do have also, a company that assists in medical and life sciences research writing, and I can share that to you if you are interested, in having any assistance regarding life sciences and medical writing, and there are also other things that we're probably going to add in the future related to, courses and you know trainings and so on and so forth. I'll just share it here, and if you have any questions, related to
Well,
that, let me know.
that'll be nice. Thank you so much, Ahmed. I do have a
Thank
lot
you.
of friends and family in medicine, so that'll be nice.
That's
Thank you so
perfect. That's
much.
entirely perfect.
Yeah. All right, guys, it's too late here. I would say
Yeah.
goodbye to all of you. It was lovely hanging out with you guys in the cafe, and hopefully we'll hang out again in the
Yeah.
future.
And
Yes. Good night to you.
thank you so much
Thank you
for
so much.
joining us
Thank
today
you.
and for your thoughtful engagement throughout this session. And on behalf of Cafe Without Borders, I would like to extend here our deepest gratitude for you, Aisha, for your insightful presentation and for guiding us through this important conversation about AI in research. And thank you again. And we look forward to seeing you at our next sessions. Everyone, have a wonderful day. And we hope today's
Thank
session
you.
has sparked new ideas. And let's come together next month, find out what is our interesting topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Have a great day. I'm gonna have a great night, hopefully.
You
Bye.
too. Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.